In the name of Jesus Christ, I speak.
奉主耶穌聖名講話，
Praise God, we have another opportunity to continue to study the words of God.
非常之感謝神，我哋再次有機會大家一齊聚集分享神嘅話語。
Today I'd like to continue the topic of A Heart of Conviction, Part 2.
咁今日就同大家繼續講到一個堅定嘅信心第二部分。
To study how the issues of life affects the growth of our faith towards God.
咁我哋要查考一下，世上嘅思慮如何會影響我哋追求神嘅心。
How these issues will hinder our conviction and faith towards Him.
咁喺世上嘅事情，亦都會阻礙我哋對神追求嘅堅定嘅心。
Many of us started our journey of faith strong and full of momentum.
我哋好多個人，或者當我哋信仰起頭嘅時候，我哋都係有一個好堅強嘅信心嘅。
Full of eagerness to serve and pursue the knowledge of God.
我哋亦都充滿呢個渴望去祈求、去侍奉神。
But unfortunately, through time, our diligence and momentum begins to slow down.
但係好可惜嘅，藉着時間嘅過去，我哋追求神嘅心係會慢慢緩慢落嚟㗎。
If we do nothing,
如果我哋乜嘢都唔做嘅時候，
our relationship with God will slowly fade into the distance.
咁我哋同神嘅關係就會慢慢咁樣就退步落嚟。
And fade in the distance.
咁就會變成係好遠嘅距離。
As a result, we will slowly be integrated back into the world.
咁我哋就亦都會慢慢咁樣再重入喺呢個世界裏面。
Then our spiritual life will slowly fade and die.
咁我哋嘅屬靈嘅生活就會慢慢咁樣退下嚟，亦都會慢慢咁樣死亡。
We will be no different from the people of this world.
咁我哋就會同世界嘅人冇分別啦。
So last time we studied one of these distractions.
咁上一次我哋就查考到其中一個嘅令到我哋分心嘅事情。
And we have a quick recap from last time.
咁我哋就從上次我哋就慢慢複述一下。
We talk about pursuing life's comfort.
咁我哋就講到追求生活上嘅安舒。
We study how our pursuit in life's comfort affects our conviction towards God.
我哋亦都查考過，我哋追求世上嘅安舒係會影響我哋對神嘅堅定嘅心㗎。
Is it wrong to seek and enjoy a comfortable life?
我哋要追求一個安舒嘅生活係咪錯呢？
What does the Bible tell us?
聖經又點樣話俾我哋聽呢？
Let's turn to Ecclesiastes.
我哋翻開傳道書。
Ecclesiastes chapter 5.
而傳道書嘅第5章。
Ecclesiastes chapter 5 verse 18 to 19.
傳道書嘅第5章18、19節。
Verse 18 to 19.
18至19節。
In the name of Jesus Christ I read. Here is what I have seen. It is good and fitting for one to eat and drink, and to enjoy the good of all his labor in which he toils under the sun all the days of his life, which God gives him, for it is his heritage. Verse 19, as for every man to whom God has given riches and wealth, and given him power to eat of it, to receive his heritage and rejoice in his labor, this is a gift of God.
第18節，我所見為善為美的，就是人在神賜他一生的日子吃喝，享受日光之下勞碌得來的好處，因為這是他的份。19，神賜人資財豐富，使他能以吃用，能取自己的份，在他勞碌中喜樂，這乃是神的恩賜。
So the author tells us it is a gift and heritage from God.
喺呢度作者話俾我哋聽，呢個係神嘅恩賜嚟㗎。
So we can enjoy all the things that we had worked hard for.
讓我哋能夠好好咁樣喺勞碌之下得嚟嘅恩賜，好好咁樣享受。
However, if we solely focus on these life comforts,
但係如果我哋只係單係專注喺呢啲嘅享受事情上，
our faith and relationship with God will be affected.
我哋同神嘅關係同埋我哋嘅信仰就會因此而受到呢個嘅阻礙。
We will be distracted away from God.
我哋會對神分心。
We slowly forget that the blessings and grace is given to us by God.
我哋就會慢慢忘記，其實我哋所得到嘅係從神而嚟㗎。
We believe that all the things we possess and achievements is a result of our own hard work.
我哋會覺得我哋生活上所擁有嘅都係從自己而嚟。
So as a result, we no longer become thankful of the things God has given us.
咁到最後，我哋對神所賜俾我哋嘅 事物，我哋就唔會再出於感恩嘅心。
So we become proud and arrogant, thinking that we have great abilities.
我哋就會驕傲起嚟，我哋就會狂傲，覺得我哋所得到嘅係從自己而嚟。
And we have great abilities.
我哋會覺得自己大有能力。
But remember, this is how the devil has fallen from grace.
但係我哋要謹記就係、魔鬼就係因此而墮落。
Because of his pride.
因為佢嘅驕傲。
Because he wished to challenge God's position.
因為魔鬼係期望去挑戰神嘅位置。
So therefore we need to ask this question.
所以我哋要自問
Has God given us the wisdom to live a comfortable life?
神既然俾到我哋呢個知識去過着一個舒適嘅生活
Has God given us the wisdom to live a comfortable life?
神係咪已經俾我哋一個俾到我哋智慧去過舒適嘅生活呢？
Or has he given us wisdom to seek and to learn the will of God?
定係神俾到我哋智慧去尋求去追求神嘅話語呢？
We forget what is truly important to us.
我哋有時會忘記對我哋真真正正係重要嘅係乜嘢事情。
So therefore as Christians we should not be distracted by life's comfort.
所以我哋作為基督徒嘅，我哋唔好俾世上嘅事情而令到我哋分心。
Because life's comfort will come and go.
因為生活上嘅舒適會嚟，亦都會過去。
But pursuing God comes only once in the lifetime.
但係追求神嘅事情只係一生人一次。
Once you have missed this opportunity, it will not come back.
當你錯過呢個機會嘅時候，機會唔會再返嚟。
But once you have obtained this great blessing,
但係當你擁有呢個大嘅祝福嘅時候，
it will be with you forever.
係會永遠咁樣彰顯出嚟㗎。
So we need to remind ourselves and refocus our conviction towards God.
所以我哋要提醒自己，亦都要再次集中喺堅定喺神嘅心嘅事上。
Especially during and after trials.
尤其是當我哋經歷或者經歷完試煉之後，
We need to reignite our fervor to pursue God even further.
我哋要再次挑旺我哋嘅心，去再次咁樣追求神。
Pursue after spiritual matters that relates to God.
佢要追求係屬神嘅屬靈嘅事上。
Because God has given us the wisdom to help each other to walk this heavenly path.
因為神已經俾到我哋智慧，互相去幫助，去走呢個天國嘅道路上。
So today we shall continue to have a look at other dangers that we will encounter that will affect us.
咁今日我哋就繼續去查考一下喺生命事上有乜嘢嘅事情會令到我哋有呢個分心呢？
So we know there are many different trials that we will encounter in our lifetime.
我哋大家都知道喺生命裏邊，我哋會遇見好多唔同嘅困難。
No one is immune from these trials.
冇人係唔需要受過困難㗎。
No one is immune. Everyone will encounter these trials.
每一個人都會遇見試煉嘅。
These trials comes in many different shapes and sizes.
呢啲嘅試煉係從各方八面而嚟㗎。
They can be simple and some can be complex.
可以係好簡單嘅試煉，或者亦都係好複雜嘅試探。
Some are difficult to overcome.
有啲係好難去勝過㗎。
But no matter what,
但係無論如何，
these trials are there to provoke us to react in a certain way.
呢啲嘅試煉係讓到我哋去好好咁樣
挑戰我哋嘅反應。
去呢啲嘅試煉係去挑戰我哋嘅反應。
They can be emotionally and physically draining.
可以係心靈上同埋肉體上都係令到我哋疲累㗎。
They can cause us to worry, to grieve, or to be angry.
會令到我哋擔心、憤怒，甚至去沮喪。
Some are beyond our control and be life-changing.
有啲能夠改變我哋人生嘅，亦都我哋控制唔到㗎。
But be sure every one of us will react differently.
相信我哋每一個人嘅反應都會唔同。
For example,
例如嚟講，
inconsiderate words.
一啲無傷大雅嘅説話，
We encounter these on a daily basis.
我哋每日都會遇見。
We ourselves are guilty of speaking inconsiderate words.
我哋每一個人都會犯下講出一啲傷害人嘅説話。
As long as we interact with each other, we will encounter these words.
如果我哋日日都係同人有呢個互動嘅話，我哋一定會面對呢個問題。
It is very easy to be influenced by these words.
我哋好容易會被呢啲閒言閒語而受到呢個影響。
But have we asked yourself, are we easily influenced by the words other people talk?
我哋有冇自問過，我哋會唔會俾閒言閒語好容易咁樣影響呢？
Does it affect our life?
會唔會影響我哋嘅人生？
Does it affect our faith?
會唔會影響我哋嘅信仰？
We can either react in a negative way or a positive way.
我哋可以好正面咁樣去回應，甚至會好負面，亦都可以回應。
So what are the positive effects that it has us?
咁對我哋正面嘅影響又係乜嘢呢？
Perhaps we may learn to humble ourselves before God and others.
或者我哋會喺神嘅面前、人嘅面前，將自己謙卑下嚟。
Or perhaps we take this opportunity to shine before others.
我哋甚至會用呢個嘅機會喺人前去發光，
To shine for God,
為神發光，
to become a child of peace.
去成為一個平安嘅子女、和平嘅子女、
A child of God.
神嘅子女。
Or perhaps it will help us to understand our weaknesses and find ways to overcome them.
甚至會幫助我哋去明白我哋嘅軟弱，如何去勝過我哋嘅軟弱。
Or even we learn to rely on God even more.
我哋甚至會學習點樣能夠更加去依靠神。
And this will lead us to have a stronger bond and relationship with God.
呢個會導致我哋能夠同神嘅關係更加嘅堅固。
Or perhaps we learn to forbear and forgive other people's weaknesses.
又或者我哋會學習從中去體諒人哋嘅體諒同埋饒恕別人。
Or our experience will help us to encourage others who encounter the same situation.
甚至我哋嘅體驗，讓到我哋可以鼓勵別人點樣去面對呢啲嘅試煉。
Or perhaps we become thankful to the person who spoke the words, and have a bond with them.
我哋甚至會去感激攻擊我哋嘅人，讓到我哋可以同佢可以有個緊密嘅聯繫。
But I believe it depends on what they say.
咁我諗就在乎嗰個人係講過啲咩説話。
Or perhaps what is the negative effect?
咁呢個負面嘅反應又係乜嘢呢？
We might become recluse and self-isolate ourselves from others.
我哋或者會將自己隔絕，同別人隔絕。
Yeah. And not to associate ourselves with others.
咁我哋就唔同其他人做呢個交往。
In order to prevent you listening to such criticism.
為咗就唔好再聽到呢啲嘅閒言閒語。
Sometimes when we see people from afar, we tend to avoid them like a plague.
有時我哋從遠處見到某人嘅時候，我哋或者會快咁樣轉去第二個方向。
And our character slowly changes.
咁我哋嘅人格就會慢慢嘅改變。
We no longer care for others.
我哋已經唔再關心別人。
And whatever we listen to, we become very sensitive.
我哋所聽到嘅，我哋會非常之敏感。
We no longer have patience for others.
我哋對別人已經冇呢個忍耐性。
And even through a simple conversation, we become easily sensitive.
甚至一個好簡單嘅對話，我哋會過分敏感。
We become very self-conscious on what we say and what we do.
我哋所講嘅，我哋所做嘅，我哋會非常之關注。
So as a result, we no longer come to church.
咁到最後會導致我哋唔再嚟教會。
But because coming to church means interacting with our brothers and sisters.
因為當我哋嚟教會嘅時候，我哋係需要同我哋嘅弟兄姊妹有呢個聯繫。
Because it means that we need to talk to people.
因為當我哋嚟教會，我哋係要同人交談。
Trying to explain your current situation.
我哋要解釋我哋現時嘅狀況。
So not coming to church will resolve everything that you try to avoid.
咁如果我唔嚟教會，咁我就能夠避免我要避免嘅事情。
So does that really help you grow spiritually?
咁呢個能唔能夠喺屬靈上幫我哋增長呢？
Sometimes all this mounts up to how people perceive who you are.
咁有時係在乎人哋點樣睇我哋自己。
All these situations cause you to change in character. Will help we see people in a negative light of you. So all your reactions will cause other people see how they see you.
咁你所有嘅反應會 導致人哋點樣睇你自己，
They will see you as a person who are very sensitive
人哋會覺得你係一個好敏感嘅一個人，
and someone to avoid.
一個要避開嘅人。
So this will make the situation even worse.
呢個會導致個問題會更加難。
So today we shall look at two examples in the Bible.
咁今日我哋從聖經裏邊，我哋睇兩個嘅例子。
The first example is Hannah.
其中一個嘅例子就係哈拿，
And the second example is Jesus himself.
第二個例子就係主耶穌。
So first of all, we'll study what situation Hannah has encountered.
咁我哋首先就查考一下哈拿經歷過係乜嘢呢？
In the situation of Hannah, we can see that she is in a home setting.
咁喺哈拿嘅故事裏邊，我哋睇到當時佢係身處喺家庭裏邊嘅狀況。
So why do I use a home setting?
點解我會話係家庭嘅狀況呢？
We tend to associate home is where our heart is.
我哋好常都會話，我哋嘅家就係我哋心所在之地。
So home should be a safe place.
我哋嘅家庭應該係一個好安全嘅地方。
So, however, in reality, this may not be the case.
但係確實嚟講，未必係呢個嘅意思，呢個係事實。
未必係一個事實。
未必係一個事實。
Not every home or family is perfect.
未必係每一個家庭係完全嘅。
Not all the problems. Every home has their own problems.
家家有本難念的經。
Not every parents love their children equally.
唔係每一個父母都係愛佢每一個子女嘅。
Even in the Old Testament, there is an example that we can see.
甚至喺舊約聖經裏邊有例子，我哋可以睇得到。
We can see Isaac loved Esau more than Jacob.
我哋睇到以撒係愛雅各多過
愛以掃多過雅各。
愛雅各多過以掃。
And we can see that Jacob loves Joseph more than his 10 brothers.
咁我哋亦都睇到雅各愛約瑟多過佢幾個哥哥嘅。
Because of this partiality, conflict between family members arises.
就因為呢個嘅偏心，令到家人成員有個紛爭。
We can also see children are not always obedient to their parents.
我哋亦都睇到子女未必係個個都係孝順佢哋嘅父母。
Let's take Eli and his 2 sons.
我哋可以睇下以利同埋佢嘅兩個兒子。
They are all priests.
佢哋兩個都係祭司。
Their conduct are not like priests.
但係佢哋嘅行為就唔像祭司一樣。
They're eventually killed because of the sinful ways.
佢哋到最後讓神就殺害佢哋，因為佢哋嘅行為。
So let's look at what Hannah encountered.
咁我哋睇下哈拿所遭遇嘅乜嘢嘅事情。
Let's turn to 1 Samuel.
我哋睇下撒母耳記上。
1 Samuel chapter 1.
撒母耳記上嘅第1章。
1 Samuel chapter 1 verse 1 to 7.
撒母耳記上第1章1至7節。
In the images I read. Now there was a certain man of Ramnaphim, Zophim of the mountain of Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, an Ephraimite. Verse 2. And he has 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. Verse 3. This man went up from the city yearly to worship and sacrifice to the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. Also the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, the priest of the Lord, was there. Verse 4. And whenever the time came for Elkanah to make an offering, he would give portions to Peninnah, his wife, and all his sons and daughters. Verse 5. But to Hannah she would give a double portion, for he loved Hannah, although the Lord has closed her womb. Verse 6. And her rival also provoked her severely, to make her miserable, because of the Lord has closed her womb. Verse 7. So it was year by year, when she went up to the house of the Lord, that she provoked her. Therefore she wept and did not eat.
第1節，以法蓮山地的拉馬索菲有一個以法蓮人，名叫以利加拿，是蘇弗的玄孫，托戶的曾孫，以利戶的孫子， 耶羅罕的兒子，他有兩個妻，一名哈拿，一名比利拿。比利拿有兒女，哈拿沒有兒女。這人每年從本城上到示羅，敬拜祭祀萬軍之主。在那裏有以利的兩個兒子何弗尼、非尼哈當主的祭司。以利加拿每逢獻祭的日子，將祭物分給他的妻比利拿和比利拿所生的兒女，給哈拿卻是雙份，因為他愛哈拿。無奈主不使哈拿生育，比利拿見主不使哈拿生育，就作他的對頭，大大激動他，要使他生氣。每年上到主殿的時候，以利加拿都以雙份給哈拿，比利拿仍是激動他，以致他哭泣不吃飯。
So here we can see a man called Elkanah has two wives.
咁呢度我哋所睇到嘅一個人，佢叫做
Elkanah. Verse 1.
以利加拿佢有兩個妻子，
One called Hannah and the other Peninnah.
一個係哈拿，一個係比利拿。
Hannah has no children,
哈拿係冇兒女，
but Peninnah has sons and daughters.
比利拿就有兒女。
But we can see in verse 5, this does not bother Elkanah as he loves her.
但係第5節我哋睇得到呢、個就喺第5節我哋睇得到以利加拿係愛哈拿嘅。
But in verse 6, because of this, Peninnah always provoked her because she was not able to bear any child for her husband.
第6節話比利加拿就見到哈拿唔生育，佢就作佢嘅對頭，大大激動佢。
So we can imagine within the same family there ought to be love.
咁我哋可以思想一下，其實喺一個家庭裏邊應該係有愛喺裏面嘅。
But because of the husband's partiality, we can see the second wife was very jealous.
咁我哋睇得到，因為個丈夫佢偏愛，咁佢第2個妻子就被激動。
So no matter what reason Elkanah loves Hannah more than Peninnah,
無論如何，以利加拿都係深愛哈拿嘅。
this partiality has caused this rift between the two wives.
就係因為呢個嘅偏愛，導致兩個嘅妻子中間就有呢、個紛爭嘅事情。
So we can see Peninnah always provoked her every year.
咁我哋會睇到比利拿每年都會激動哈拿。
This is recorded in verse 6.
喺第6節話俾我哋聽嘅。
She provoked her severely.
佢係大大咁樣激動佢。
So it's not just mere mocking.
唔係話好輕微嘅嘲笑佢，
but severely.
係大大嘅激動佢。
So I don't know how she would have provoked her very severely.
咁我唔知道佢點樣係做或者做咗啲乜嘢去激動哈拿。
But this made her very miserable.
但係呢個係導致哈拿係生氣嘅。
And every time it made her cry.
每次都令到哈拿哭泣。
And this happened every year. The whole family goes to offer sacrifice.
咁每年佢哋都會上到神嘅殿裏邊去做呢個獻祭。
So I'm sure Hannah would have her down moments.
咁我相信哈拿亦都有佢唔開心嘅時候。
This would have made her very angry and frustrated.
係會導致佢非常之生氣嘅。
I'm sure in most times it resulted in heated arguments and conflict within the household.
我相信佢哋嘅家庭裏邊係時常都會有呢個爭拗。
Hannah could easily have spoken to her husband.
哈拿其實可以好容易咁樣就同佢嘅丈夫講一句
to expel Peninnah from the family.
可以將比利拿除去。
She could easily take revenge from any form she desires.
佢其實係可以好容易咁樣去攻擊返比利拿。
So it's just like a TV drama.
就好似一個電視劇集一樣。
Hannah takes revenge.
哈拿就要報復。
Peninnah and the children expelled from the family home.
比利拿同佢嘅子女就被逐出家庭嘅門外。
And now they live in hardship and in poverty in the streets.
咁而家佢哋就要喺家嘅以外係經歷貧困嘅生活。
Now Hannah inherits Elkanah's wealth.
咁哈拿就可以承繼比利拿嘅財產。
Now she lives in peace and happiness with her husband.
咁而家哈拿就能夠同佢嘅丈夫好好咁樣生活下去。
20 years later, Peninnah's children grows up and take revenge.
咁20年後，比利拿嘅子女已經長大啦，佢哋就翻嚟報復。
So this cycle of hatred and revenge goes on and on.
咁呢個傷害呢個循環咧，可以循環咁樣又再循環。
So this seems very entertaining to some people.
對某啲人嚟講，呢個或者係好有娛樂性嘅。
In fact, these TV dramas are not good for our spiritual growth.
其實呢啲嘅劇集對我哋屬靈嘅成長係冇益處嘅。
Because there are too many dramatic happening in the family.
因為喺家庭裏邊有太多一啲極端嘅事情發生。
It may not happen to you,
或者唔會係發生你嘅身上。
but from experience, these dramas, people who watches them can be immersed into their world.
但係從呢啲例子睇呢啲劇集嘅人，佢哋可以好容易咁樣墮入喺呢個嘅處境裏邊。
There are instances where fans attack these actors because of what had happened in the drama.
曾經試過有一啲嘅藝員，因為喺劇裏邊所發生嘅劇情，佢哋受到粉絲嘅攻擊。
So we need to be careful on what we watch.
所以我哋所睇嘅，我哋要好小心。
We need to take these real family issues not as entertainment.
我哋要視呢啲嘅劇集唔係一啲嘅娛樂。
Because in reality, people who undergoes these trials are going through grief and pain.
因為確實嚟講，喺呢啲處境嘅人，其實佢哋係經歷係痛苦嘅。
So what is Hannah's decision?
咁呢度哈拿嘅決定係乜嘢呢？
We see that Hannah knows that this would not benefit anyone if she go against Peninnah.
咁哈拿佢明白到，如果佢係要還擊嘅話，其實係大家都冇好處嘅。
Especially it will destroy her husband's family.
尤其係會影響佢丈夫嘅家庭。
Breaking up her husband's family is not the answer to her problems.
對哈拿嚟講，去拆毀佢丈夫嘅家庭，唔能夠解決佢自己嘅問題。
Instead, we see she start to rely on God.
反而嘅佢就開始依靠神。
She start to pour out her heart before God.
佢就喺神面前去倒出佢自己嘅內心嘅心聲。
Because she understands that all things comes from God.
因為哈拿明白一切嘅事從神而嚟嘅。
And all things are controlled by God.
一切嘅事情都係喺神嘅掌握上。
So from this we can see that she is a God-fearing woman.
咁從中我哋睇到哈拿係敬畏神嘅一個女子。
Although she was affected by the words and provocation from Peninnah.
雖然哈拿係受到比利拿嘅攻擊，話語上嘅攻擊。
Although she was desperate to bear a child for her husband.
雖然哈拿係非常之渴望為佢嘅丈夫生兒育女。
We can see that she is not a selfish woman.
但我哋睇到哈拿唔係一個自私嘅女人。
We see that she is someone who puts the needs of others before herself.
佢係一個能夠將人哋嘅需要擺喺自己嘅需要嘅前面。
In the end, we see that God opened the path for her.
喺到最後，我哋睇到神就為哈拿開一條路。
And she was able to bear not just one child, but 3 sons and 2 daughters.
咁到最後，佢就唔單止係生咗一個兒子，佢能夠生下3個兒子、2個女兒。
So likewise today as Christians, we should follow her example.
咁今日嚟講，我哋作為信徒嘅，我哋要好好學習哈拿嘅榜樣。
Not to allow personal matters affect our faith towards God.
我哋唔好讓個人嘅事情去影響我哋對神嘅堅定。
Because it's very easy to be negative, to have a negative thought.
我哋好容易會有一啲負面嘅思想。
So by putting God first in our lives,
當我哋生命上，我哋將神擺喺首位嘅時候
like Hannah, we can resolve our problems in the long run.
就好似哈拿一樣，長遠嚟講，我哋就能夠解決我哋嘅問題。
Everyone will benefit from God's solution.
每一個人都能夠從神解決嘅方法去得到益處。
Not only that, our faith will not be compromised.
唔單止咁樣，我哋嘅信仰就唔會受到妥協。
Nor will other people be affected by our negative choices.
咁其他人亦都唔會受到我哋負面嘅抉擇去受影響。
We know family are important in our lives.
我哋大家都知道，我哋嘅家人喺我哋生命中係重要嘅。
So therefore, if there are situations that arises that causes harm to the family,
所以如果喺日常生活係有事情發生，係導致我哋家庭困裂嘅話，
and yet it is out of our hands,
係導致我哋去控制嘅話，
the best solutions is to rely on God.
咁最好嘅方法就係依靠神。
So we can see that the faith of Hannah and her conviction towards God is strong.
咁我哋可以從哈拿嘅例子，我哋睇到佢對神嘅堅定嘅心係堅強嘅。
She did not blame God.
佢冇埋怨神，
She did not blame her husband.
佢亦都冇埋怨佢丈夫。
She only resolved the matter through God's hand.
佢就係藉着神嘅大能嘅手去解決佢嘅問題。
A second example I'd like to share
第二個例子我要同大家分享嘅就係、
is Jesus.
耶穌。
And this is based around a religious and church setting.
呢個當時嘅環境就係喺教會裏邊嘅。
Yeah. Very often we often it's not church setting. This is based around people who worship God.
當時係
個環境係個個都送神嘅。
個環境係大家都送神嘅。
Very often we diligently serve God in church.
我哋好常喺教會，我哋會好熱心咁樣為神侍奉。
We may encounter disagreements and conflicts between co-workers.
咁我哋同工之間，或者我哋有啲嘅爭拗，有啲嘅爭拗。
Yeah, and we might have a difference of opinion in tackling a situation in church.
我哋或者對教會一啲嘅工作，我哋有唔同嘅見解。
But this is normal.
呢個係正常嘅。
No matter if you're in church or outside, everyone has their own opinions.
無論喺教會以內、以內、以外都好，我哋大家都有個人嘅意見。
It's all about compromise and accepting each other's ideas.
係在乎我哋大家能唔能夠去接納大家嘅意見。
But overall, we work together in the one heart to serve God.
總括嚟講，我哋都係一心去為神工作。
But no matter if you're just a normal, or if you're, but as Christians,
作為基督徒，
no matter what we do and say,
無論我哋所講嘅，我哋所做嘅，
we are scrutinized by people outside.
我哋會被教會以外嘅人去指點，
Because we go to church,
因為我哋去教會，
and we ought to have the characteristics of Christ.
我哋應該係有基督嘅心腸。
So no matter if you're a member or a church leader,
無論你係一個信徒或者係教會嘅領導人都好，
or even if you're a deacon or a preacher,
甚至你係一個執事或者傳道都好，
people tend to look closely at what you do and what you say.
其他人會好緊密咁樣去睇你所做嘅，你所講嘅説話。
So you can see that your friends outside will look closely at what you do.
所以我哋睇到我哋教會以外嘅朋友，佢哋會好緊密咁樣留意你所做嘅事情。
So sometimes it's quite daunting when every time we decide to say something or to do something.
有時我哋想做一啲事情或者講一啲嘅説話嘅時候，或者會導致我哋有啲嘅害怕。
Similarly, at the time of Jesus,
咁同樣喺耶穌嘅時代，
the Pharisees and the religious leaders are just like Jesus's co-workers.
咁當時呢啲文士，佢哋都係好似耶穌嘅同工一樣。
They all serve God and look after the faith of the people.
佢哋大家都係侍奉神嘅，去關注信徒嘅信仰。
Unfortunately, the Pharisees and the scribes, they go in a different direction of Jesus.
但係好可惜啊！呢啲法利賽人同埋文士，佢哋就係與耶穌行嘅路係唔一樣嘅。
Some of them tend to serve their own interest.
有啲佢哋係為咗自己嘅利益而去侍奉，
rather than serving God's people.
而唔係去侍奉神嘅百姓。
But Jesus has given us a very good example in dealing with these people.
但係主耶穌已經俾到我哋好好嘅例子，如何去對待呢啲嘅人。
We can see during Jesus' ministry, he was constantly mocked.
咁喺耶穌宣道嘅時候，我哋睇到耶穌係常常被責罵㗎。
The Pharisees are always constantly trying to find fault in his speech and his actions.
法利賽人係常常喺耶穌所講嘅言語或者行為上係希望能夠捉到佢嘅把柄。
But we can see that Jesus uses the words of God to correct their mindset.
但係我哋睇到耶穌能夠用神嘅話語去改變佢哋嘅觀念。
Not only correct the mindset, but also to chastise them.
唔單止改變佢哋觀念，能夠去斥責佢哋。
So we can see the power of the words of the Bible.
所以我哋能夠睇到聖經裏邊嘅話語係大有能力㗎，
It can give life
俾到我哋生命，
and also chastise those who are wrong.
亦都可以斥責嗰啲係錯嘅人。
But throughout Jesus' ministry,
咁喺耶穌嘅宣道嘅期間，
he suffered the most mocking closer to the end of his ministry.
咁到佢宣道尾聲嘅時候，佢受到最大嘅羞辱。
Not only was he mocked, he was physically abused.
唔單止佢被斥責，佢肉身上係受到鞭打㗎。
Let's turn to Matthew.
我哋睇下馬太福音，
Matthew chapter 27.
馬太福音27章。
Matthew chapter 27, 27 to 31.
馬太福音27章27至31節。
Verse 27 to 31.
27至31節。
And the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the praetorium and gathered the whole garrison around him. And they stripped him and put the scarlet robe on him. When they had twisted a crown of thorns, they put it on his head, and a reed on his right hand. They bowed the knees before him and mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" Then they spat on him and took the reed and struck on the head. And when he had mocked him, they took the robe off him, put his clothes on him, and led him away to be crucified.
27節，巡撫的兵就把耶穌帶到衙門，叫全營的兵都聚集在他那裏。他們給他脱了衣服，穿上一件朱紅色袍子，用荊棘編作冠冕戴在他頭上，拿一根葦子放在他右手裏，跪在他面前戲弄他，說：恭喜猶太人的王啊！又吐唾沫在他臉上，拿葦子打他的頭，戲弄完他，就給他脱下袍子，仍穿上他自己的衣服，帶他出去要釘十字架。
Let's also read verse 39 to 44.
我哋可以再睇39至44節。
Verse 39 to 44.
39至44節。
And those who passed by blasphemed him, wagging their heads, and saying, "You who destroyed the temple and built it in 3 days, save yourself if you are the Son of God. Come down from the cross." Likewise, the chief priests also, mocking with the scribes and elders, said, "He saved others, himself he cannot save. If he is the King of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe him. He trusted in God. Let him deliver him now if he will have him. For he said, I am the Son of God." Even the robbers who crucified with him reviled him and with the same thing.
39節，從那裏經過的人譏誚他，搖着頭說：你這拆毀聖殿3日又建造起來的，可以救自己吧？你如果是神的兒子，就從十字架上下來吧。祭司長和文士並長老也是這樣戲弄他，說：他救了別人，不能救自己。他是以色列的王，現在可以從十字架上下來，我們就信他。他倚靠神，神若喜悅他，現在可以救他，因為他曾說：我是神的兒子。那和他同釘的強盜也是這樣地譏誚他。
So here we can see that Jesus has undergone excruciating pain and mocking.
咁呢度我哋睇到當時耶穌所經歷嘅係甚大嘅戲弄。
This is really a pitiful situation.
呢個係一個好可悲嘅事情。
He was even challenged and the words he has spoken in the past to use against, to mock him.
當時嘅人佢哋係挑戰耶穌，用耶穌曾經講過嘅説話去戲弄佢，
Even say, if you come down, I will believe in you.
甚至話如果你而家能夠從十字架上下嚟嘅話，我就相信你啦。
But yet, what did Jesus reply?
咁當時耶穌有冇俾反應佢哋呢？
Did Jesus retaliate?
耶穌有冇還擊呢？
So why did he not retaliate?
點解當時耶穌冇還擊？
Jesus understands the will of God.
耶穌係明白神嘅旨意，
He understands his destiny is to suffer and die on the cross.
耶穌明白佢到最終係要死喺十字架上成就神嘅旨意嘅。
He knows his death will save mankind and fulfill the salvation plan of God.
耶穌明白佢要因此而受死，能成就神嘅旨意，讓眾人得救。
Just like the sheep being offered as a sacrifice to atone the sin of mankind.
就好似一個羊要被宰，成為獻祭去贖人嘅罪孽。
Only a person who understands the will of God can do this.
唯有一個能夠明白神嘅旨意，先能做得到。
Do we understand the will of God?
我哋明白神嘅旨意嗎？
When we suffer, do we allow God to guide us?
當我哋受苦嘅時候，我哋有冇讓神去引領我哋呢？
Or do we retaliate?
定係我哋會還擊？
We all know that God is an almighty God.
我哋大家都知道神係大能嘅神，
He can deliver us at a very instant.
神係可以立時去拯救我哋嘅。
All we need to do is put our full trust in God.
我哋只需要嘅就係完全咁樣信靠神，
To be obedient, to accept and to be at peace.
我哋要信服神，我哋亦都要有個平靜嘅心。
Let's turn to Matthew.
我哋可以睇下馬太福音，
Matthew chapter 26.
馬太福音嘅第26章
Chapter 26, verse 38 to 39.
，26章嘅38同39節。
Here records the prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane.
喺呢度就記載到客西馬尼園嘅禱告，
This is a prayer of Jesus.
呢個係耶穌嘅禱告。
Here we can see that Jesus is asking for God's guidance.
喺呢度耶穌就求神帶領佢。
He said that my soul is exceedingly sorrowful,
耶穌話：我心裏甚是憂傷，
even to death.
幾乎要死。
And said, Oh my Father, it is possible this cup pass from me, nevertheless not as I will, but as you will.
耶穌話：我父啊，倘若可行，求你叫這杯離開我，不然不要照我嘅意思，只要照你的意思。
So here we can see the obedience of Jesus.
呢度我哋睇到耶穌係信服神嘅，
He knows that God has his plans.
佢明白到神係有佢嘅計劃，
So therefore he was able to accept what is come to him.
所以耶穌就能夠去接受佢將要嚟嘅事情。
Let's also read verse 42.
我哋可以讀第42節。
And Jesus on the second time continued to pray.
第二次又去禱告說：
Oh my Father, if this cup cannot pass away from me unless I drink it, your will be done.
我父啊，這杯若不能離開我，必要我喝，就願你的旨意成全。
So here we can see that Jesus is exceedingly sorrowful.
喺呢度我哋睇到耶穌係極其憂傷。
So likewise today when we encounter trials,
同樣今日當我哋面臨困境嘅時候，
no one will understand how we feel.
冇人會明白我哋當時嘅處境。
We only know that we are very sorrowful.
我哋只知道嘅就係自己係極其憂傷。
And even it seems that someone is ripping your heart out from you.
睇起嚟就好似有人將你個心挖出嚟一樣。
So here Jesus set us an example to follow.
喺度耶穌已經作一個例子，要我哋好好嘅學習。
That only Jesus has the solution.
唯有耶穌先至能夠幫我哋解決一切事情。
And let's also turn to Romans.
我哋亦都可以睇下羅馬書，
Romans chapter 12,
羅馬書嘅第12章
verse 9 to 10.
第9至10節。
Let love be without hypocrisy. Abhor what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be kindly affectionate to one another with brotherly love. In honor, giving preference to one another.
第9節，愛人不可虛假，惡要厭惡，善要親近，愛弟兄要彼此親熱，恭敬人要彼此推讓。
He talks about how we should behave as a Christian.
呢度話俾我哋聽，我哋作為基督徒，我哋嘅行為應該係點樣？
I'd like to focus on the word cling to what is good.
我想大家注重嘅就係
Cling to what is good.
善要親近。
Yeah. In the English version, it tells us that we need to hold on to what is good.
喺英文版係話我哋要找住善嘅事。
So sometimes it may seem that our heart, our faith is strong in the past.
有時我哋或者會想起我哋以往嘅信心係堅強㗎。
We may come to church very often.
我哋好常都會嚟教會。
It seems that we constantly work and participate in church work.
我哋會常常喺教會做神嘅工作。
But once we encounter trials and tribulations,
但係當我哋面臨困境試煉嘅時候，
it seems that our faith is no effect.
睇起嚟我哋嘅信心已經再冇功效。
But here it tells us that we need to hold on to what is good.
但係呢度話俾我哋聽，我哋要守住善嘅事。
So what is good to you?
對我哋善又係乜嘢呢？
Is it to continue to to uphold the Christian principles?
善係咪話要守住我哋信徒嘅原則呢？
Is it to continue to become children of God?
係咪要繼續成為神嘅子女呢？
Or do we just give up on what we've learned in the past?
定係我哋以往所學習到嘅，我哋就放棄呢？
Sometimes all the trials and tribulations seem so hard to overcome.
有時我哋嘅困境，我哋嘅經歷，我哋睇起嚟好難去勝過。
Simple things seems to make us angry.
有啲好細微嘅事情會導致我哋嬲怒。
It seems that during trials, our faith is like a child.
咁我哋經歷困境嘅時候、試煉嘅時候，我哋嘅信心就好似一個小童一樣。
So immature and so easily provoked.
我哋好容易俾人哋激動，我哋亦都好幼稚。
So therefore, we need to remind ourselves to uphold and to be strong in times of difficulty.
咁我哋要提醒我哋自己喺困境嘅時刻，我哋要守住我哋嘅信心。
So we need to constantly remind ourselves how should we face problems in our daily lives.
咁我哋要不斷去提醒自己，我哋點樣去面對我哋日常生活嘅困境呢？
Let's turn to a concluding verse.
我哋可以睇一個結論嘅經節。
Let's turn to James chapter 1.
我哋睇下雅各書嘅第1章，
Verse 2 to 5.
第2至第5節。
James chapter 1, verse 2 to 5.
雅各書1章2至5節。
My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trial, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives you all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him.
第2節，我的弟兄們，你們落在百般試煉中，都要以為大喜樂，因為知道你們的信心經過試煉，就生忍耐，但忍耐也當成功，使你們完全完備，毫無缺欠。你們中間若有缺少智慧的，應該求那厚賜與眾人，也不斥責人的神，主就必賜給他。
So if we decide to have maintain a strong faith to God,
如果我哋已經決定對神嘅信心係堅定嘅話，
we need to understand the teachings of the Bible.
我哋要明白聖經當中嘅道理。
And it's all because of time.
因為時間嘅關係，
We'll kneel down and pray.
我哋就跪下禱告。
For those who need a laying of hands, please come to the front.
如果有需要執事安手嘅，請嚟到台前。
Let's pray for ourselves and for each other,
我哋為自己亦都要互相代禱。
so that when we undergo trials and temptations,
咁當我哋經歷困境試煉嘅時候，
we may continue to have a strong faith.
我哋能夠有一個堅定嘅信心。
Let's all kneel down and pray in the name of Jesus Christ.
我哋大家奉主耶穌聖名跪下禱告。